Good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Flexible Always On Mobile Apps, Building Enterprise Mobile Apps that Leverage Microsoft SharePoint. My name is Glenn Johnson. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Magic Software Americas, and I'd like to thank you for joining us today. I'm joined today by Or Gott. Welcome, Or. Sounds like Or is on. There you are. You were on mute for a second. Thanks for joining us, Or, and we're looking forward to seeing your demonstration in just a few moments. My formal part of the presentation will start us off. If at any point you have questions in members of the audience, please go ahead and enter them in to the chat box or to the question box, and we will be happy to answer those at the conclusion of our formal presentation. Once again, thanks to all of you for joining us, and we're going to go ahead and begin today's session. We will be covering some of the material in the similarly titled ebook regarding use cases and always on or offline mode, skill sets involved, and so forth. But don't worry, there aren't that many slides. For SharePoint and mobile apps, there are a number of enterprises, of course, that are really looking at how to best leverage the ability to not only display SharePoint information meaningfully in a mobile app, but also to incorporate other enterprise information and data bidirectionally, either bringing that external data into SharePoint or bringing that data directly to the mobile app along with SharePoint information that is then mashed up into a combined interface of back-end enterprise information. The reason it's so important sometimes to combine that information, and while we'll be focusing on that a fair amount today, is that in mobile apps, of course, the context is typically limited real estate screen sizes, and perhaps even more importantly, the users are on the go. They have limited time and attention relative to traditional applications, enterprise applications especially, and therefore it's important to focus on just the required minimum number of screens. Usually 2 to 3 screens is about all that the typical mobile app user is willing to put up with, even in enterprise situations. Certainly taking an entire complex SharePoint implementation and trying to distill it or just deliver it as a mobile app is not what you want to accomplish. So you want to just create a mobile app that is skimming the most important information, if you will. And we'll talk about different ways of doing that, and also compositing it with the related relevant information from other applications that All right, sorry about that. We're back on the air. We had a phone outage here. We were connected via our phone, and it just, without me touching it or anything, decided to disconnect. I do apologize. We are back. So hopefully, I'm not sure at which point the audio may even have cut out, but we mentioned web parts, we mentioned SharePoint lists, and now we were discussing workflows, which of course are providing you with the ability to orchestrate the steps in a business process in the SharePoint environment. So these are the fundamental concepts upon which some of the discussion later on can be based, particularly as it relates to integration. We'll be looking at how you can work with those SharePoint lists in your environment. So workflow can be thought of as a series of tasks, and it's really something that's used to kind of provide consistency to the business process. And there's business logic that goes into this. You can think of it almost like having the ability to apply a flow chart to the way that work is handled in the SharePoint environment. Well, when we talk about mobile, so we have the basics of SharePoint there, but what are the uses and that we can apply this technology to before we just delve right into the weeds of how to build these applications? Let's just look at some quick examples from various industries. The VisaCal app, I think, is a great one in terms of mobile card processing. It's a merchant services app where you have a very secure and robust app. It's fully native, running on each device in the native environments, giving people complete integration to the back end as well, providing a lot of benefit to the organization. The Sony New Media is an app that's relating to invoicing. It allows the users of that app to be able to respond to inquiries about invoices and be able to really answer questions no matter where they're at whenever they get contacted. And in their particular industry, off-hours inquiries are not uncommon. So this particular app, again, has the benefit of being fully native, very nice visual interface, and giving them complete integration to back-end systems. In the area of manufacturing, a nice tablet app, the DoveTrack Inventory Management Warehouse Management System. Here again, the warehouse manager is able to work from home, be able to check in, see what each of the workers in the warehouse are doing, how many picks, putaways, the KPIs, and so forth. A great mobile application that gives them a lot of power in that situation to be able to really keep working. Now, with the the healthcare example that we wanted to mention is Boston Medical Center and their Asset Manage application, which allows them really to control the work orders related to fixed assets in the hospital environment. Boston Medical Center is a large hospital, obviously in the Boston area, that they have the technicians that go from room to room. They can scan using their mobile phone the barcodes on the door. It lets them know what the work orders are for that room. They can then interact with those work orders. They can add new work orders. They can report the work that they've done and close the orders and so forth. So this is a great application. Allows them to take photographs, use the barcode, and locate themselves geographically in terms of when the work is being done and so forth. So these are just some ideas that we wanted to share with in terms of opening up some of the thought process, and we'll go even further and suggest that in terms of SharePoint integration you already probably have some apps in place that you're thinking, how can I mobilize those apps? And we'd be happy to talk to you about the specifics of those situations as well. So when making decisions about how to mobilize, there's the whole question of, should we go native? Should we use HTML? What's the best way to create an application? And you'll hear a lot of discussion of cross-platform application development, meaning that you may be developing an application for mobile that you want to deploy in not only Windows Phone, but you also want to deploy it in Android. You also want to deploy it in iOS. You may even want to deploy it in BlackBerry. So you have different mobile device operating system standards that you're working with, not to mention all the various devices within those operating system standards. And to call them standards is a little bit loose because there are various versions of those different operating systems that also have significant variations. The various flavors of Android, ice cream sandwich and jelly bean and I don't know what's next, peanut butter cup, nobody knows, but Kit Kat, whatever. They have all of these variations, of course. These are things that create some complexity from the development standpoint. And if you are looking at cross-platform development, that's great. But what we suggest is that it goes further than that. It's also not just cross-platform that's needed, but cross-channel. In that with cross-platform apps, you have support for these various environments that we mentioned. And a cross-platform system needs to support multiple screen sizes, touch or keyboard input in the case of those few systems that are still using keyboards, native look and feel, variety of native deployment methods and are needed as well. But you go beyond that to cross-channel, and you're saying not only do I need to support all of those mobile interfaces, but different types of mobile interfaces, rich internet applications or native applications, mobile browser support for HTML5 type applications, hybrid apps that are in a native container but may contain some HTML5 windows, which is a concept similar to a SharePoint web part. It's a piece of the overall screen that's being controlled in the HTML browser part, and then the rest of it is a native application that would be hybrid. And then you have the applications that don't run, of course, on mobile devices at all, that are rich internet applications running on desktops. Desktop browser applications that are running on the web are what traditionally called web applications. You have network clients or client-server applications. Many of our organizations are running software of this type today. And you have server-side batch-oriented applications and web services for machine-to-machine interfaces over the internet where there's no human interface perhaps involved at all. So there are a lot of different types of software programs, obviously, that people are writing, and having ability to deal with these multiple modes of both client-side deployment and server-side deployment are what we refer to as cross-channel. Cross-channel platforms are supporting various kinds of devices that also work with the HTML, with XML, FTP, flat file, PDF, various kinds of message queues, databases, and so forth that full channels would provide support to. So the platform features are going to include client-server communications, server-side business logic, database discovery and connectivity, and the ability to composite application logic. What that means is that you can have some enterprise Java applications that are running. You've got some nice Java objects out there. You may want to consume and use those. You also have, of course, a lot of .NET applications running in your environment. You want to be able to use some of the business logic from those environments. And you have perhaps even legacy applications running on, gosh, I don't know, Unix or IBM I. An RPG application, something like that. There are literally, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of these still, obviously running in business environments. So all of that should not be wasted. There's been a lot of money invested in it, and in some cases, the logic isn't even necessarily something that would be easy to replicate in newer, more modern environments. And so all of this we're suggesting is, wouldn't it be nice to have a way that you could have a centralized development approach that could support all of these various technologies environments? And obviously, surprise when we show the demo, we'll be talking about platforms that can do these kinds of things. So always on, traditional web applications require, a network connection. And although HTML5 has options for offline web applications using client-side storage, they're clearly limited by the browser capabilities. So for this reason, and for the reason that businesses often have needs to support multiple environments through a multi-channel approach, developers are seeking to use the Magic XPA application platform as a means of delivering always-on mobile apps that are integrated to SharePoint using the Magic XPI integration platform. So we want to look at what we're talking about when we talk about always-on. Offline programming requires you to overcome the limitations imposed by the challenges and constraints of working without a server connection. We've all experienced it. Smartphones lose their connection. No service available. You don't have 5 bars. You've got 1 bar or a half a bar or whatever. When you're in those situations, you need to be able to go offline in order to continue using an application that is normally connected to a server where much of the work is being done. So in contrast to online programs where the server connectivity is either non-existent or unreliable, your apps are going to need to be adjusted to handle this state very carefully while creating a usable app. If you can't connect to SharePoint, what is the user who thinks they're using that SharePoint application doing at that particular moment? There's a lot of business logic and thought that needs to go into providing a continued meaningful user experience to that user, and then once communication is reestablished, to apply the business rules for synchronization, and that thought goes into which database is the master, which is it a master-master relationship or a master-slave relationship in terms of the data, and those kinds of business rules and logic are then applied once communication is reestablished and the synchronization takes place between the previously offline client or mobile app and its new reconnected state to the server. So this is an ideal way to be able to allow your users to work so that for them the experience should be seamless, and while they may be notified or made aware that they're currently in offline mode, they don't have to panic about that, because at some point they're expecting to reestablish their connection. So Magic XPA application platform allows you to create apps that are able to store a subset of the important or relevant server data on the client side, locally on the client, and they allow you to use and store the user credentials on the client for apps that require user authentication like SharePoint. And in a Magic offline program, the data can be entered on the client and then later updated for consistency with the server. And this means that Magic XPA, of course, is now providing bidirectional data sync between the client and the server. Magic XPA is ensuring a seamless user experience when connections are slow or lost, or allowing uninterrupted operation and data consistency. So these are really key concepts to think about. What are we going to do if our SharePoint mobile app users suddenly lose the connection? Well, a way to get around this is to build your own apps that are not only integrated to the other systems in your environment, but also that have an offline mode capability in order to do this. Now, we're not going to go into the details of setting up master-master patterns and doing all of that synchronization, but suffice it to say that the capabilities are there in this option to do that, and you'll be supporting multiple mobile operating environments all at once, so that you can have support for iPhone and Android and so forth in offline modes with the technology that we'll be showing you here. At the same time, we've been talking about integration, and it's key when integrating to be able to scale seamlessly. Whether you have 5 mobile users or 500,000, it shouldn't matter. And in order to do that, the integration platform needs to be able to keep up. In other words, all of those interactions with back-end servers need to be taking place in a way that the messaging layer is extremely scalable and fast. Now, that is increasingly becoming a problem for a lot of the sort of older or current, if you will, technologies that are out there. The way that this is being changed in today's environment is the move towards big data handling capabilities, and that requires a concept called in-memory computing. So that, of course, is something that we incorporate into our Magic XPI integration platform as well, so that you have those in-memory data grids built into that platform with all of the things that provide for elastic scalability, such as right behind co-location of memory and processing and dynamic scaling. The benefit of all of this is that you're using a lot fewer tools. You have a single skill set, unlike typical native development where you have multiple platforms to write for, or the environment where you have to do HTML5 and JavaScript and CSS approaches. The solution from Magic that we call the Magic Enterprise Mobility Solution involves a single skill set for mobile application development and all of the other server-side and cross-channel application modes that we've mentioned. So the solution piece incorporates an application platform, an integration platform, a mobile device management solution, or MDM. You can use any mobile device management solution, although we do have one that we offer as part of this, as well as the services that you need in order to execute a project. So when you're looking at the development options that are out there, some people are doing client-side with multiple different approaches. This is sort of the various native development approaches that we were talking about. And then they need a few developers for the server-side application. And then there's a lot of programming that's taking place on the integration side. This is kind of the older way of doing things. Although it's older, it's also very much current. There are a lot of people that are struggling through with this today, and that's why they're looking at better ways to integrate SharePoint to their mobile applications. There's also an approach which takes people through a web development approach. This creates efficiency on the client side in that you're utilizing HTML5 and JavaScript and CSS. But it has the limitation of a certain amount of uniformity and limited interactivity in the applications that are developed. It also does nothing about the server side, so you still have multiple development requirements there. Nor, of course, would it address integration. So HTML5 is at best a partial solution to all of the multiplicity of development requirements and languages that are needed. When you work with Magic XPA, as we said, you have this write once, deploy many approach, so that you've created something and it takes on the look and feel of the particular operating system that you're working with, whether that be Windows or Android or iOS, or various flavors and devices even that have different looks and feels. So that advantage is very powerful. You also have the ability to work with all of the various form factors, the option of working with hybrid development, so that if you have an investment currently in HTML or you have HTML pieces that you want to make part of your application, that can be brought into that native environment very easily. and the benefit of working with, of course, as we've mentioned, the Magic XBI integration platform. So let's talk for a moment about Magic XBI, and then I'm going to hand it over to Or. The integration platform, of course, provides you with that single capability for integrating to all enterprise applications, including SharePoint, and through an API automation toolkit type approach that is known as the Magic XBI Studio. And that capability is something that takes it away from line-by-line coding and into a business analyst sort of metadata manipulation approach, but all through a visual interface. Very powerful. And as we look at Magic XBI, it gives you both application adapters and endpoint or technology adapters. So the application adapters are for major platforms and capabilities that are out there. The endpoint adapters for various technology protocols that would include web services, messaging, communication protocols, flat file, various kinds of technical interfaces, and some specialized formats and things like that. So there are literally dozens and dozens and dozens of these that are built into the system that become the API building blocks of an overall solution. So Magic's in-memory data grid has this in-memory computing approach, which allows you to dynamically scale, but there's no single point of failure for all of the messaging that needs to be exchanged in these complex integration scenarios. You know, we've all seen the sort of diagrams that look kind of like spaghetti because there's so many lines, you know, going between all of the different icons. And if you took a traditional approach to integration scaling, you would have a lot of bottlenecks in those kinds of scenarios. With a grid approach, you literally have dedicated spaces that contain memory and contain processing power, and that you can have as many of those as you want, and the communication between them isn't linked to any one central point. So as a result, you have a grid that is extremely powerful in terms of the elasticity of its scalability. So all of this architecture works together to give you the ability to orchestrate, transform, route messages, perform transactions, and importantly to be able to monitor and manage what's happening in the integration part of your deployment, all very, very scalable, as we've mentioned, and working with these various databases and frameworks and various technologies, APIs, as well as the application APIs. So we're now going to take a moment to look at how do you do this? How do you work with SharePoint? What if you want to integrate SharePoint to your mobile apps and so forth? So what I'm going to do is ask Orgat to share his desktop here and take it away from the standpoint of showing his presentation. And I can see your desktop now, Or. So we're looking forward to what you have to show us.
Thank you, Glenn. So as Glenn said, just to see first of all how it is that we do what we do and prepare the short demonstration where we're going to run a mobile app and eventually see something that we do in the mobile app being created on our SharePoint application. And then we're going to dive into how exactly is it done. Just so that I can share with you my mobile applications, what I'm using is an emulator. An emulator is basically a virtual machine that lets you run various types of interfaces that belongs to different types of mobile machines. For example, I'm currently running an application demonstrating an Nexus 7, but it is running on my laptop. So if I open my mobile, and under my mobile device I have a Magic application. Let's open it for a minute. The mobile application that I'm going to show you is something that we've created in Magic. I'll show you just a little bit about how to create mobile applications in Magic in a few minutes. But this specific application comes to demonstrate an application that uses to serve that we use to serve traveling salesman, specifically traveling salesman who works for a pharmaceutical company. And as all traveling salesmen they need to be able to contact their accounts, to see the different contacts, to create a tour plan, and so on. And we've designed it in a very simple way. I'll show you the graphical design tool that Magic uses to create mobile applications in a second. So what I want to do is basically to run this mobile app and to create a new contact. The idea is to have that contact immediately integrated via our backend server to our SharePoint application. So that when someone creates a new contact on his mobile app, because I'm a traveling salesman and I went to visit an account, went to visit a customer and met a new contact person, I want to be able to add that contact person to the list of contact person that we hold back in our SharePoint application where all the desktop users are looking at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a contact. As you can see, all the different buttons on the application itself are native buttons. The three-dotted button here, where I just used to create a new contact, is something native to Nexus 7. That's part of the capabilities that Magic gives you, and Glenn mentioned it in his demonstration, in his presentation, where everything that you do in Magic you develop once, and eventually you get the native look and feel of the mobile device that you're running it on. So let's create a new contact. Let's create one for Glenn because I don't think he's on. You know what? Let's make it something funny. So, sorry. Thomas the Train, because my son loves him. And his mail is going to be at mail.com. And he's going to live in 111 Choo Choo Street in 92155 in Los Angeles in the US. Let's give him a phone, 777-1234, and company Train Inc. And let's give it a note as well. I'm useful. Just kidding. My note. Okay, specifically the mobile application that I'm showing you now can connect or can create this specific contact list to any of my backend applications. So what I've created was drop-down list that points to all my backend applications. Now when I open the drop-down list, you'll notice that the drop-down list is a native drop-down list. The look and feel of the drop-down list is native to Nexus 7. If this same application, developed only once, would have I run it on iOS, it'll look like a drop-down list for iOS with the rolling wheel. So I'm selecting SharePoint as the application that I want to connect it to, and once I hit save, basically what I'm doing is I'm telling the mobile application, send this information via my backend system, via my integration platform, all the way to SharePoint. Because I'm doing the technical part, what you're going to see now is a warning message showing you exactly what is the information that we sent. So once I click save, you're going to see a pop-up window. Again, 5 seconds. This happens every once in a while. And I want to make sure that this runs smoothly. Okay. Let me do it all over again real quick, because I want to see the warning message, because I want to be able to discuss it. Let's open the mobile app again and create the new contact. And do it relatively fast. I'm going to use mine. Just to make it fast. One, two, three, here street 90210 in LA, in the US, phone number 555-134, company MSC, notes, my note, so I apologize again. And the idea is to be able to see this warning screen. Well, basically what we see is the concatenated information as part of an HTTP call that shows exactly what it is that we are passing to the backend application that is waiting. Once I click OK now, we'll see the thinking bar, and this is the point where our integration platform is being kicked into place. I want to show you my integration platform, sorry, wrong server. This is my integration platform. This is where I have my integration servers running, and this is what we'll discuss in a second. But if we look back at this, what we see is a warning saying a SharePoint object was added, and this is its ID, 20. So in theory, what I can do now is go to my SharePoint application. This is my SharePoint application. This is where I created my different contacts. And if I F5 the screen, I should be able to see the new item that I've created, the new contact that I've added, with all the relevant information that I've added to it. The phone number, the addresses, the notes, and so on. Okay, now let's discuss the effort. Now that we've seen how this is done, let's discuss the effort. The effort is built out of 3 different steps. First of all, creating my mobile application. For this, we use the Magic XPA tool. The Magic XPA platform is an application development platform where we can create mobile apps very, very easily. I'm going to take you to the studio of my Magic XPA platform, and I'm going to show you the application that I've created. This is a what you see is what you get platform for creating different applications. It doesn't have to be mobile applications, it can be desktop applications, real applications, and so on. The idea is you develop the application once, and Magic gives you different servers that can run the application on different types of clients. For example, on a mobile client, on an Android mobile client, or on an iOS mobile client, or on Windows. And wherever you run the application, it will have the native client look and feel. That's the idea. So basically, as I said, what you see is what you get. Let's just dive into the main screen for example, where I can see the screen that I've showed you at the beginning. All we have to do is add the icons, drag the different icons, and create the screen. If I move an icon to the left, this is what you're going to see. If I save it and compile it, this is what you're going to see on the application eventually. I'm not going to save it, of course. Another screen that I can show you is the screen where we just created the contact information. So for example, again, what you see is what you get. Say I want to have another button here to cancel something out. All I have to do is go to my control screen, grab a button, add it, and then I can change its name and do whatever I want with it. The idea is whatever we do here creates events that we treat later on in the logic tab as events that needs to be handled. A very simple platform for creating applications, both for mobile applications, desktop applications, server applications, and so on. Once we've created the application, once we were able to add a new contact and hit the save button, what we did was we called the backend application, the backend integration platform, which is Magic XPI. XPI stands for integration. So this is my Magic XPI environment where I have various projects. One of them is running. In Magic XPI, you basically get 3 different tools that serves when you want to create an integration project. First tool would be the server. I'm going to create an integration project, and I'm going to have a server that runs it. For me to be able to create the integration, I need to have a studio. This is our studio. This is where we develop stuff. After I develop, because the integration itself just ran in the background, someone did something on a mobile application, hit save, and whatever he did was created on another application. The integration itself just ran in the background. It doesn't have a UI. Because I do want to be able to control or to know what the integration did, I have another tool, which is the monitor, which is what I just showed you, where we see line-by-line messages of the integration server. Okay, whenever a SharePoint account was created, basically I'm running here, I'm getting a line here saying SharePoint account was created, the number of the account, and I can see the exact message that was created. It's a way for me to be able to control how many messages did I receive. Did I get an error in the integration? An error would have a red color. I can filter, only show me errors if I want to. I currently don't have any. I can filter based on dates, only show me events from 2 days ago. I want to be able to have a glance of what the integration project did. And I can see the transaction times, the various execution times for creating an object, for doing something. Okay, so it's about 5 seconds to create the object in SharePoint altogether. Now, what was the effort when it came down to writing the integration project? This is our Magic XPI Studio. It's a super simple tool of drag, drop, and configure development methodology, code-free environment, where we have over 65 connectors or adapters. Lets you basically talk to out-of-the-box applications, or as Glenn mentioned, to different endpoints that are not applications. For example, I just have a Java code that I want to use, or I just have an XML that I want to read. So in our case, what we did was we used the SharePoint adapter in order to communicate to SharePoint. As I've mentioned, this specific project can connect to various applications, JDE, One, Word, Salesforce. For each of those, we have an out-of-the-box adapter that uses the native API of the application, an API given to us by the application, and makes the creation of the object very easy on that application. In SharePoint, for example, we use the web service API provided by SharePoint, but I don't expect you to read the WSDL. I don't expect you to write the actual XML physically and then do the post command. Everything is wrapped for you in a neatly wrapped connector, where all you have to do is drag, drop, and configure. Let's look at what drag, drop, and configure means. Let's take another adapter, drop it on top of something, hit configure, and then decide what it is that we want to do on our SharePoint application. It lets you connect to, it lets you connect to either libraries or lists in SharePoint. It lets you look at all the different entities of your list. And as you saw, it gets the list description in real time. So if you've added another list, it'll grab it. What we did here was to connect to contacts or customers. I don't 100% remember. Let's choose something that we've never used before, employees. What it is that I want to do now? Query, add, as you can see, code free. So for example, I want to create or update an existing employee. I have no idea what the employee object is built like. I don't know what fields it has. I've never seen it before. Once I click OK, the integration platform will go to SharePoint, get the description of it, and basically give me a way of mapping information into it. And this is where the third part of building a mobile application all the way to SharePoint comes into place. The first one would be to have a mobile app. The second one would be to send the information from the mobile app to the integration platform. And the third one would be to map the information using the integration platform into my end application. So for example, the information that we got came as, for example, variables. It can be of various sources. It can come directly from a database, flat files, XMLs, different IFS modules, which are names for different applications that we have in-house, ODSs and UDSs, which are types of arrays that we hold in memory. Let's choose variables and just select a couple of variables that came from the mobile application, for example. And now all I have to do is click map. Those are the variables that I've selected. And on the right is a description of the entity that I've selected, the employee entity. And as I told you, I have no idea what it's built like. I get the nodes that I'm expected to send in a simple screen that I can map directly into. Not only that, Magic dies the mandatory elements in bold so that you would know that this is a mandatory element. So now all I have to do is connect left to right, hit OK, and let this run. And as I said, this is now an integration project that will create a new employee based on the information that came from the mobile application, and it took a second to create, because I don't need to understand, I don't need to know in advance what are the different fields that I need to have. I don't need to write the code to get the description of those fields. I don't need to create the schema. Everything is done for you by the Magic XPI integration platform. All you have to do is map source to destination eventually. This is something that we tell all of our customers here in the professional services team of Magic. It's better to have a perfect mapping document in advance and know nothing about how to integrate than to know everything about how to integrate but have a very poorly designed mapping document. Because then eventually, I mean, the advantage that someone who knows the platform brings is not as big as having a very good mapping document, and all you have to do is drag, drop, configure, and click map. So basically what we've created here is an integration engine that runs in the background. A little bit more about the integration platform that we provide. As you can see, everything is designed as in a flow editor where you can create different junctions and different execution steps for each flow. For example, after I've created something in SharePoint, if it failed, I want to send a specific error. If it succeeded, I want to send the ID back. This is what we got back in the mobile application. We can create different branches that are executed at the same time. For example, now after something was created, I want to send an email to the administrator saying an object was created. You can make it run in parallel, click configure, do a quick send, and send an email to admin@magic.mail that new object created. And this is how basically we create the logic of the integration that runs in the backend. Now, one more thing I want to explain is what we've done to connect the mobile application to the integration platform was one of various ways of doing it. The idea, and this is something that Glenn mentioned multiple times, is to have a single skill set for all those developments, for everything that you need to do. The mobile development platform, the Magic XPA, and the integration development platform, the Magic XPI, are based on the same technology stack. There are various ways of connecting them. You can do it in a simple HTTP call. You can do it by calling programs. Eventually, it's the same technology stack. There are various ways of doing it. And this makes your capability of calling any application, calling from any application that you develop in Magic XPA to any application that you want to integrate using Magic XPI. And the effort in doing it is relatively simple, relatively to everything that I've seen. Glenn, anything else that you would want to cover?
No, I think we'll just go to the questions now. Thank you very much, Or. We appreciate your demonstration, and we'll go ahead and ask for those on the line to enter their questions into the question box or chat box, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that those people might have. So we'll give you just a moment to go ahead and type those in and send them. By the way, apologize for those technical difficulties earlier. I was having trouble first with the phone, and then somehow or other it disconnected my screen as well, so I had to press play on the screen button. I didn't realize that had gone off at the same time. So anyway, we're glad that we were able to resolve that. Just checking here for questions. Actually, I don't see any questions coming in, so it looks like we're off the hook today.
Okay.
Unless someone's typing a really long one, looks like we're free and clear. So once again, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll look forward to talking with you again soon on another Magic webinar. If you have any questions for or myself, please feel free to contact us. You can send an email to info@magicsoftware.com, or you can give us a call at 949-250-1718, extension 59. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thank you, Glenn.